All right. Let me do him first.
Randy, appreciate your charity efforts.
Thank you.
I'm Rick Dunlap, Pell City, Alabama, not far from where you're from.
Yeah, that's true.
Used to play you guys in Gadsden in football. But and I'm an Alabama fan. I'm sorry, but my uncle went. Yeah, I'm glad to see you're a Gamecock.
I don't get involved in that.
Well, you got a good school there, being a Gamecock. Do you have a favorite song on your new album? Do you have any favorite?
Probably One-on-One, because it's kind of like the album or the CD is the thought behind the title is really not the thought behind the song One-on-One, which is on the CD. To me, One-on-One with the CD is about hopefully it's like me picking up that guitar and singing you these songs where it's just where you feel like it's a personal thing from me singing to whoever's listening to the music. But the song One-on-One is a real mushy, sexy love song, and that's my kind of song. That's the songs I like to write, and they're very hard to write, and they're not hard to write. It's hard to find the emotion and the way to put something that's not X-rated, I guess, that they'll play on a radio station or whatever. And but so you do have to alter sometimes the creative side of yourself in order to get the point across. And one of the great bits of advice that I had was from Conway Twitty, and he told me that in songs that you're writing was that if you could substitute a couple of words for each one of your words that you can't actually say on TV or whatever, then most of the time you were on your way to writing a hit song. So that's obviously all these the songs that I wrote, they're part of my life, and there's a story behind all of them, So it's "Pray Me Back Home Again" was a song that I'd had ever since the day of 9/11. I wrote that song that day, and it was one of the most when I sang that song, it takes me back just right to that day, how I felt. And maybe y'all can't remember that, but I can remember thinking about the helplessness and hopelessness that I had being in Las Vegas, Nevada, and not really knowing if I would ever get back home again. I mean, they were talking about there in Las Vegas that the terrorists were going to blow up all the motels and the casinos, and on top of all the casinos there were guards and helicopters flying by with gunships. And I mean, it was a time unlike anything that I'd ever been a part of. And I got to make one phone call to Kelly before my phone service went out there, and that was really the way it was. It was just, helpless. And so I sat down and wrote this song, and I didn't really want to sing it or try to get anybody else to sing it or anything like that. I had to write the song. And I remember so well, I looked and looked and looked outside the window trying to find an American flag, because I just wanted to say the Pledge of Allegiance. I just wanted to, just me, myself, and I, looking out the window and just do the Pledge of Allegiance. And I finally found a flag, and so I did that. And somehow it made me feel better. And I remember what my mother does in our family is when we have family crisis or whatever, she wants us all together around a circle, and we all recite the Lord's Prayer. And so that came about in this song, and of course you have to hear the song. But I just thought it was important to include that song in this project, and in a way, like my brother-in-law just got back from Iraq, and a way of saying to those men and women, thank you for, hopefully we don't have another day like that. And so far we haven't. And it really bothers me in this country that we just kind of take it for granted that there won't be another day like that, when we know that there are people plotting as we speak to try to make things even worse than that today, and we don't seem to give any credit to the people that are standing guard for us.
Right.
And I just it really bothers me.
You're in the reserves, or
Oh, really? Well, my father-in-law he was with the 82nd Airborne, and
It's the first time I've seen him in civilian clothes.
When I went, I remember the Vietnam thing and being, I knew that I was going to have to go, and so I got, we have this loop there that we run, and I was running and doing all the exercise and everything, and then they stopped the war, and but that was. I've told a lot of people about that decision. That was a decision you had to make back in those days because everybody was. And I saw something when I was in high school during that time that always stuck a really tough place in my heart. There was a Marine that came there to our high school with his uniform on, and I heard one person boo. Now this is in Fort Payne,
wow,
Alabama, and I heard one guy. I'm sure it was some kid. But that stuck me so hard in my heart that could happen in our little hometown, because I knew when they were landing in San Francisco, people were throwing stuff at them and stuff like that. And of course, personally, I'd like to see somebody go back and get some of that footage and find those people.
Yeah. What are you doing nowadays, buddy? All right. So, what's your question? What's your name first? Whoops.
I'm Yolanda. How are you?
Good.
Good. First of all, I'd like to have a lock of your hair.
We sell those, ma'am, for St. Jude.
So beautiful. My question is, congratulations, first of all, on your long career. I mean, that's just fabulous. Decades of songs. I would like to know, what is your favorite song of all time that you recorded and the best memory that you had?
The favorite song. That would probably.
That's like calling one of your babies ugly.
Yeah. I mean, if I got to pick one, probably it's either mountain music or My Home's in Alabama. Probably just as one that you're familiar with. And what was the other question?
Favorite? No. Favorite memory. Being in the band.
The best memory. Probably, one of my favorite memories was we played at the Constitution Hall, and it snowed, and Bob Hope was there, and it was a patriotic thing that we did, and Bob Hope, we were concerned. Bob was in his limo, and we were in our limo, and we were going to the wall to make some pictures, and the snow was about 6 or 8 inches deep. And I will never forget that I didn't want to be disrespectful of Bob Hope because he was pretty old at that time. And, of course, he lived much longer after that. But he got out of his limo and just took off walking toward the wall. And so then we took off walking toward the wall because we didn't want to be younger and go out there and walk up the wall and him not be able to walk to the wall, because he had certainly entertain the troops and and basically risk his life. That the Viet Cong or whatever would have loved to have done away with Bob Hope while he was entertaining the troops in Vietnam and all the other places that he had been. But that was one of the really, and I got a piece of advice from him there that day that I just told him I was just so impressed. I said, Mr. Hope, I'm just so impressed that the kind of weather that we're having and that you're out here at the wall, so I took some pictures or whatever. And he said, I just want to tell you something. If you're going to make an era in your career, always era on the side of your country. Wow. And which is basically patriotism, if you're going to be over patriotic instead of the other way. And I really took that to heart.